All right. Well, welcome to our last call. It's on working with DMOs and brands, hopefully not once, but multiple times. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Everyone can see that all right? I'm going to assume yes. Okay, thank you. All right. So working with brands and DMOs, how to make lasting partnerships. Today we'll cover how to attract these opportunities, how to network for these opportunities, how to pitch, what you should be charging, how to figure that out, what to do when you're on the job, how to make your content really wow the people who hired you, what to do after the project is finished, and how to turn it into multiple projects. So first, how to attract these opportunities. So first of all, we have talked about this a lot, but you want to have as strong of a niche as you possibly can. And the way that we do that, good, there we go. The way that we do that is just really honing in on what your unique gifts are and just really talking about things and destinations that you are passionate about. So as you know already, because we have talked about it ad nauseum, the more you niche down, the easier it's going to be for brands to recognize you as a good fit for their message. So I have an image of this wire mesh bag protector here because this was one of the first things that I ever put on my blog that I was just like, this thing is great. It has like helped me so much because the first year that I was traveling in Southeast Asia, I genuinely never stayed in anything but like cheap accommodation, dorms that I was sharing. Sometimes they had lockers, but often they just didn't. And this wire mesh bag protector just made me really annoying to pickpocket or rob. So I could just leave my bag behind with peace of mind. Sometimes other people in the dorms would like give me some of their stuff to lock up to. And it was just, I loved this thing so much that I was always singing its praises. And I pretty much, promoted the crap out of it because I really liked it. So by the time I did finally get sort of an in with PackSafe, I was able to say, hey, look how many of these I've already sold just because I love it so much. And that made the partnership an easier yes for them. So be so good, they can't ignore you. I think that's a Steve Martin quote, but I've probably put it in multiple of these presentations because it's just so simple but true. If you are doing a great job, you're going to get noticed. So recommend things to your audience as an affiliate and then track those sales and those outbound links for data. And we've talked about in the past how to track that. So that is in, I think, the analytics tutorial as well as the affiliate tutorial. So to keep building on that, you want to get into a position where you deserve to be considered. Are you confident that you can help brands that partner with you make their money back and then some? Do you sell affiliates well? Can you tell that people are following your advice? Are they indicating that they do? I have a screen grab here from a message from a reader, and I get these every day. So you really want to be like getting these messages from people that are like long and heartfelt, where you know that what you've written means something to them and that you are truly an influencer in the sense that they're making decisions based on what you've said because they trust you. That's when you know you have a brand that is really worth something that you can start charging for. So if you're starting to get these signs, like I'm getting a lot of outbound clicks, my affiliates do pretty well, then I think you've got a really good sense of, okay, if I were to work with a brand at this stage, it would be worth it for them. So this is why I never did the comment pods or the loop giveaways on Instagram, because it's not real influence, it's not real engagement. And to me, that's just bamboozling brands. It's bad for the industry. So if you have to fake it to make it, I don't think it's time to charge yet. So that's just my opinion on the whole thing, but I really want the brand to make their money back and then some if they're going to work with me. So where do you start with all of this? Well, first of all, I would pick some self-funded projects that you're going to go all in on and make that your first case study. So I have an image of Iceland here. My friend Maxime and I went to Iceland. We did a ring road trip. We got a camper van, and no one paid me to do it, but I just went all in on this content. I mean, we were like up for every sunrise, every sunset. He was really into photography too, which was super helpful. We got lucky and saw the Northern Lights. And so when I came out of that Iceland trip, I had like 4 or 5 blog posts that I could write. And I was able back then to rank #1 for a lot of these terms. And so Iceland really became my first super strong case study. And I worked with a company called Go Campers, and all they did was give me a little bit of a discount on the camper van. But I think at the height of that blog post, I was sending that guy 600 hits a month. So it helped his business. And then he gave me a quote that I could put in my case study. And then next time I was like, hey, a brand can pay me if I'm going to partner with them again. So it just gave me the data that I needed to make these case studies. So I treated it as though I was getting paid, even though I wasn't. And I know a lot of you guys are doing this already. You know, you're self-funding your trips. And what I would do is just really go all in on them and treat them as though it's a project you're getting paid for. And you know, do some things for free at first. You will have some opportunities come to you where they're not going to pay you, but they're offering you maybe a discount, like in this case. And that's an opportunity for you to really go all in and prove that you're worth paying in the future. And you never know, they may come back and offer you a completely free opportunity in the future or actually pay you. You can often spin these into the sort of thing where you do get paid. I did that with the Tourism Board of Ireland, for example. So just because you do it for free at some point doesn't mean you can't get paid in the future. So here's how to network for these opportunities. I think, at least in my experience, it's so much easier to get these opportunities when people know you. So I think the most powerful way is in person at conferences. And I know that that hasn't been all that possible lately, but it is seeming like maybe 2022 is the year when we'll be able to go to these conferences again. So the best thing that you can do is use whatever platform they're using. Blogger Bridge is the one I think they do for TBEX. For Matt's conference, TravelCon, there are ways that you can actually request appointments before the conference starts. And I definitely recommend that you do that so that you're not just showing up. I'm telling you, these tourism board and brands get like completely bombarded with people just showing up, and they've expressed to me that they get overwhelmed. And so request the appointment ahead of time so that they know who you are, they say yes to you, and then when you show up, it's because you already agreed to meet up with each other and chat. So they may not say yes if you're like a brand new blogger, and don't take that too hard. It's just that maybe you don't have that proof yet that you're worth meeting with and worth their time when they have literally thousands of people that they have to sort of choose between, but do at least try. Comment on their social accounts and show them that you exist. So I've never had the opportunity to meet anyone at Reno Tahoe or Travel Nevada in person, but I've talked to them on social media now, and I've DM'd with Travel Nevada because I tagged them in some posts that I knew were going to perform really well for me, and then they noticed. So let them know that you exist, comment on their stuff. I definitely do that with Travel Nevada. There's a person running that, usually the person that you need to get in with. So if you don't have a chance to meet them at a conference, do it socially. Offer to write an article for them for free. So this is something that I've been even doing because those backlinks are really valuable. And you never know, they may say, hey, you know, we do need someone to write about XYZ experience. And maybe they'll give you a free ticket to something or not. But either way, showing them what you can do even before you have a large audience and building up that relationship is a great way to up your SEO, but also just, again, let them know that you exist. and that you want to be supportive of them. So starting with your local DMO is a great place to start, and branching out from there, like start to really, I think flirt's not the right word here, but you know what I mean. Like do the whole social media flirt thing with these brands and destinations that you're dying to work with, so that when you do actually reach out, it's not totally out of the blue. Next, I would look to your blogger circle. So most of the projects that I've done, if it hasn't come through a conference or a PR firm just kind of reaching out to me, it's come from a friend. So most of the projects that I worked on in the beginning were actually something that I got brought into. And this image from Ireland is an example. So just to give you kind of my history with Falchi Ireland, which is the DMO for the whole country of Ireland. I basically went on a fam trip as part of TBEX back in 2013. Then my friend Steve was working in Northern Ireland, which is still under the Falchi Ireland Tourism Board, for a Game of Thrones project. And I got brought into that by him because he needed someone else to film. So I didn't get paid really much at all for that second one. I didn't get paid anything for the first one, but I did post all over my own socials for the Northern Ireland trip that Steve brought me into. And that showed Falchi Ireland what I could do. So even though it wasn't part of the agreement and I didn't get really paid in order for all the things that I delivered, I still did it anyway, because I just wanted to prove to them what I could do. And then I did get an opportunity to work with them a couple years later. And then I was able to get my full price. So you never know what could happen. For me, it was definitely worth it to go all in. So I would look into your circle and see who you know that you could partner with to bring an idea to a tourism board. So if you don't think that your brand is strong enough on its own, maybe bring someone else into it that really complements it, and come to them with a fully baked idea and see where you can go with it. If a friend has worked with a brand or DMO that you are dying to work with, reach out to them and see if maybe you can trade contacts. I ended up working with both Montana and Idaho through an intro from Kristen Bohr of Barefoot Theory. And then I introduced her in turn to tourism boards that she was interested in working with. So you never know what your connections could bring you, but definitely look into that. And if someone's worked with a tourism board you want to work with, see if maybe you can offer them something and they can offer you something. So now let's talk about how to pitch. The main thing that you want to focus on is not what you want out of it, but what you can do for them. So here's what I would include in my pitch. You've already built your historical data, right? Because we talked about that in the first few slides. Your historical data comes from you being able to show that you have generated profits for companies that you've worked with in the past, whether they paid you or not. Or if that hasn't happened for you yet, you're drawing this historical data from your affiliate links. So no matter what, you can always find ways to support whatever argument you have that you are worth working with. Put that into a case study that is relevant to their brand or destination. So I have different case studies for DMOs, products and services, and hotels. So here I have a case study for Travel Manitoba, and I've worked with them twice now, but I just want to show you the things that I did for this partnership, and definitely not all of it was included in the original agreement. So the first time I worked with them was in the summer of 2017. And basically what we agreed to was, I think, one blog post and then Instagram posts for every day of the trip. But I ended up writing 4 blog posts because it's better for my SEO if I have that much content that I could put out there. And I also decided to put out a video. So we did not agree on a video. They didn't pay me for the video, but I did it anyway because I just had a feeling that it was going to do really well. I could tell when I was in Manitoba that the locals were like really proud of it. And whenever you're in a place like that, go the extra mile because the locals are going to really push up your content. So I ended up having a bunch of success with this video. reached almost 200,000 people, got almost 6,000 reactions, comments, and shares on it. And this is why Tourism Manitoba ended up working with me again, or Travel Manitoba, sorry. So although they didn't pay me to do all this extra stuff, when I went back last winter, they did add on the videos. They did pay me to do that. So I know some people say that you should never over deliver because why will they pay you for the extra stuff if you're just going to over deliver? But that has not been my experience at all. Over delivering is how I've ended up getting these opportunities more times over and over again. And put social proof. So here I have comments from 2 people on my blog posts. Churchill, which is where I went to see these polar bears, is really, really expensive. And this person is basically saying it was, we balked about going to Churchill during a recent trip because of our budget, but now you're showing me that it's probably worth the money. And then I have a quote up here from Jillian, who is my contact and the person I work with at Visit Manitoba. And she's saying a lady fully committed to booking a trip to Churchill with Lazy Brave based off of your video. So we know that they made their money back. And that's just all the tourism board wants, is for you to help them make their money back. So I love putting these together after a project because it makes Jillian look good to show this to her boss. It makes me look good to send this to anyone in the future who might want to work with me. So better believe anytime a Canadian tourism board comes to me, I'm going to show them this particular case study. So let me show you one for a product or service. So Alamo Rent-A-Car is one of my longest running partnerships. I worked with them 3 times. It was an exclusive contract that we renewed twice. So I began with them in October of 2017. And I managed to rank on the front page for almost every blog post that we worked on together. So that's why they kept renewing with me, because it was a success every time. And then this is some of the Instagram posts that I did with them. So again, we're always showing our social proof here. You can see how much engagement these got. And then we added up all of the blog posts, all of the Instagram engagements, and put all that information on here too. And then sometimes we'll fill in with whatever information we think is also helpful. We know from my reader surveys that 1/4 of the people who responded, and this is my most engaged audience members, did take a trip based on something that they read on my site. So it's just good to have this kind of information in there so that you can send this to someone who is considering working with you and make it an easy yes for them. And I would not make it more than a page, because people are busy, and if you can't say it in a page, cut down what you're saying. Also, it's nice to have multiple visuals like this. Words can kind of, if you're saying everything in just words, sometimes that can get a little boring. So I like to mix it up and do visuals too. And here I'm really showing them what I can do as well. I'm giving them examples of my photography. Here's a hotel one. I really like this example because the TRS Yucatan Hotel in Mexico only brought me out to do Instagram. So they did not pay me to do a blog post. They did not pay me to do a YouTube video, but I did them anyway because, again, these things are good for me too. Like, why not do it? I got really lucky with one of my social posts there. It just blew up and I got 154,000 views on that video. So this is why I chose this hotel to make the case study about. Of course, I've worked with other ones and it wasn't as successful, but you're going to use your most successful experience to make your case studies, right? I ended up being #1 on Google for a really long time for things to do in Tulum. And I was sending 400 monthly clicks to the hotel's booking site. So again, this is not even something they paid me to do. They didn't expect it of me. They only hired me for Instagram, but I just over delivered because I knew it would be worth it to make this case study. And of course, I'm getting affiliate payments for those bookings too. I'm getting all the ad revenue as well from the people who come in and look at that Tulum post. So it's also really good for me to do the extra content as well. So I actually have plenty of case studies, but these are just the examples that I wanted to show you so that you can kind of get an idea of what these look like. Again, use the data from your affiliate sales, use reader surveys, definitely use quotes from readers about buying something that you recommended or following one of your itineraries, and make your case study pitch brief but powerful. So obviously there's all kinds of extra stuff I could have included in there, but all I wanted was the stuff that was really going to drive the point home. So now let's talk about the pitch. You don't want to be too wordy because remember, these people could be getting multiple pitches per day. So how are you going to stand out? Well, you want to focus on what you can do for them. Again, make it about them, not you. Like an example of a bad pitch is, hi, I want to come to Utah and these are all the things I want to do. Can you like set that up for me, or can you help me out with that? Like, obviously, why would they say yes to that? Instead, it's like, you know, I am Kristen. This is what my brand is. These are some major figures that I want to show you that are impressive about me. And this is what I can do for Visit Utah. Here's a case study that I did with like Travel Idaho. And then they can kind of see how and why it makes sense to work with you. I would definitely reference any content gaps you found that you can fill. So they probably don't need more content about Zion National Park if we're continuing with the Utah example, right? Like it's already way too popular. So they probably want to diffuse that and send tourism elsewhere. So what else is there in Utah that people might not know about that you could like help spread the word about? So I'd make a very specific pitch and give them evidence for why this is a good idea. You basically just want to make their job super easy. Basically do their job for them. So here's an example of a pitch that I sent to Quebec Original. I had met with them at TravelCon already. So again, it's going to work better for you if these are not completely cold pitches. And in case you can't see that, I say, hey, Katie and Kim, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me. It was short and sweet, and while I'm sure you're getting bombarded with TravelCon emails, I wanted to follow up while our meeting is still fresh in my mind. We chatted about fall foliage and road trips, as well as maple syrup and even a wintertime partnership. My readership is in large part Californians and Texans, and we don't get foliage and wish we did. Road trips historically do quite well for me. Toward that, I'm free from September 25th to October 4th. So no fluff in here. I'm basically just reminding them of what we talked about, reminding them of where my audience mainly is, and telling them that road trips do well for me and exactly when I'm free. Then I get right into my pricing because they asked me to send it. So I want to emphasize to you how I do these tiers. So tier 1, I don't want anyone to say yes to tier 1. I really want them to say yes to tier 2 or 3. But my tier 1 is just 1 blog post and 4 Instagram photos plus Instagram stories for each day of the trip. So here's where the magic happens. Tier 2 is everything from tier 1 plus I give them 5 images. And for me, this is not extra work. I'm taking those images anyway, but for them, this is a big upsell because they get assets out of it. So it's only $1,000 more, but they get these 5 images that they can use on any medium throughout perpetuity. So make sure, because sometimes brands and, you know, I find it less with DMOs, but sometimes brands will sneak in there that they get the rights to your images. And I want people to pay for that. So make sure that you still get to use the images. So it's a non-exclusive agreement. And if you see that snuck into a contract, just make sure that you're really fine with that, because otherwise you're probably going to want to go back to them and say, hey, so this is what I charge for photos. So yeah, I do include that as one of my tiers so that I can work smarter, not harder, and hopefully just get a little bit more compensation out of the partnership. My tier 3, I throw in video. And of course, I really want them to say yes to the video. I'm probably going to make one anyway. And, you know, I have obviously in the past, like I showed you, even when they didn't pay for it. But if I can get them to pay for it, that's even better. And sometimes I'll make two instead of one. So again, first and foremost, my commitment is to my own content, to making it really good. And I will often write multiple blog posts and do more content than we agreed upon, but I also don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So I almost never offer more than one blog post or more than one video up front, because you might get bad weather and then who knows what's going to happen. So then I do offer on here that they can let me know if they want to see any of these tiers augmented, and quite often the client will. So they'll come back to you and say, okay, well, what would the price be if we did this, this, and this? And then I show them my most updated media kit, which you guys have seen before, which has my updated numbers for their review. And it may make sense for me to send a media kit. It may make sense for me to send a case study. It just depends on the person, the partnership, and what we've already discussed. I'm upset that this GIF isn't animated because it's Taylor Swift throwing glitter, but for whatever reason, my PowerPoint would not open this file today. So, but anyway, watch the pitching module because we have talked about this before, and I do have templates in there for you. So that's in Teachable. Now we need to talk about what to charge, because it's hard to figure this out, right? Like, how do you really qualify what you should be charging people? So there's kind of a progression, in my opinion. You do things for cheap or free at first to build up those relationships and historical data. It's probably unrealistic to expect to get paid right away. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing some things for cheap or free. What I think you should not do, though, is give away assets for free. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people will say to a hotel or a tour company, hey, if you let me come on your thing for free, I'll give you a whole bunch of photos. The problem with this is there's nothing you can point to later. If I write a blog post, then later on I can say, hey, look how well this blog post did. It got this many views, this many people clicked and booked, and then I can go back to the tour company and see if they want to pay me in the future. I can also use this as a case study. But if I just give them photos, what can I put in my case study? There's nothing I can point to there. I don't really have any way of tracking the success of something like this. And I just don't think it's a very good practice, because why would anyone pay for an asset if they're just getting it from anyone for free? So that's kind of, I think, an unfortunate thing that people do because they're just so desperate for that free hotel room. Give them social shares, give them exposure on your blog posts, like give them things that you actually have the power to track, because once you give away the photos, that's it, that's over. So I prefer not to go that route. Only do things that truly feel like a good fit and that fit your niche. I know that it can be really hard when you haven't really gotten a paid opportunity yet to have the first one come your way and to turn it down because it's just not that great of a fit. But let me just tell you from personal experience that saying yes and working on projects that don't really like make your soul happy are just going to not be fun for you. Your audience isn't going to really resonate with it, and it's probably not going to be a success anyway. So say no if it's not a good fit. Just trust me on this one, because I've said yes before when it wasn't, and I regretted it. Charge when you can provide that historical data and are quite sure that they'll make their money back. I know I sound like a broken record here, but it's good for the industry and for you and for everyone involved when you can really actually deliver on what you're promising. And being on sort of the brand side of things these days with Wander Babe, it really sucks when you work with an influencer who doesn't actually have like a real following, and you've spent that money and resources as a small business. And like, trust me, I'm never going to work with them again. And if anyone asks me about that, I'm going to be honest with them and say, like, you know what, it didn't really work out for me. So that's kind of the issues that come up with influencer marketing when people don't have a true real following. So how do you calculate, given your reach, what a blog post is worth, for example? I can't really tell you definitively because there is no like list anywhere of like what people charge at certain times, but this is just what I did. So I charged $500 for a sponsored blog post until I had about 20,000 unique visitors per month. That usually would include shares on my Facebook, my Twitter, and my Pinterest. Then I bumped it up to 1,000 until I had about 50,000 uniques per month. 2,000 until I was at about the 150K mark. And now my base rate is 3,000 for a sponsored post. I don't get them all that often, and that's how I want it to be. I don't want to just be doing like pimping out my blog and doing all these sponsored posts for like chump change. I would much rather work with a few clients, get paid more each time, and not have as much sponsored stuff on my channel. Sorry, I need to take a sip.
Sorry, Kristen, quick question.
Yeah.
You said that you were including like some of your social shares in that unique as well. So both visitors to the blog and shares on social, kind of to get to that total number. Is that what you meant?
No, in this case, this is just my blog traffic.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a good idea actually, to bring in the social shares as well. So if you've got a certain amount of people following you on Instagram or your social channels, and you're just not at that 20K unique mark yet, you can certainly make it look more impressive by saying, this is how many people will see it on social media as well. And of course, you can feel free to throw in your Instagram if you want to. Back then, I just don't think I was doing that. And even now, Instagram is not included in these rates. So I just charge separately if someone wants to be included on my Instagram. But, you know, you do whatever feels good to you and your brand and what you're building. So I don't think that's a bad idea.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And I would increase your rate when you know that companies have made money off of you. So, and if your audience is growing, that's when you know to start charging more. So again, the amount is only something that you can really know. And it may be that your audience is smaller, but more dedicated because you have like a super defined niche, more defined than mine. And in that case, I think it could be even more valuable. So I would present the numbers with a tiered approach, because then they are making the choice. They're picking what is right for them. Let them know that you can tailor it, and try not to let the middle tier equate to a ton more work for you. So that's why I like to include photo assets. I will often also throw in a written blog post for them because I get a link back out of that. So they get something and I get something out of that. It's a win for everybody. So here is the example of the tiers that I sent for the first ever tourism board that I worked with, just me alone. It was Travel Wisconsin or Visit Wisconsin. Anyway, it was Wisconsin. And they reached out to me, and this was in year 3 of my blogging journey. And it was the very first project that was just for me, that no one else brought me into or was involved in. So that was pretty exciting. And this is what I charged back then, $1,000 for a photo only campaign with 3 Instagram posts per day. Back then, that wasn't weird to post 3 times per day. I think this was in 2015. So I don't really do it this way anymore. I always include the blog post. Then I did the next one, like 3 Instagram posts per day, which sounds totally insane now, and 1 blog post on Be My Travel Muse. And so then I just went up from there. And then I made sure that the client covered all costs for everything, including my round trip flight from LAX. Do be careful with what the client pays for and with what you pay for, because sometimes they'll want you to pay for your meals or things like that. So work that in as well. I definitely don't want to go out of pocket on any trips that I take. I think in the end, they came back to me and countered something like maybe between the $1,000 and the $1,500 rate, but then they also gave me a $500 gift card when I was there for food, and I didn't use the whole thing. So I was just stoked to have this opportunity and to be able to go out there, and I had just such a wonderful trip. And this gave me the historical data that I needed to work with brands in the future. This is what I bumped it up to in 2017. So I was living in Germany at the time and everything was in euros. I really did so much. This was for Visit Kyrgyzstan, and we ended up doing tier 3 here, which was 3 blog posts on Be My Travel Muse, 2 YouTube videos, daily social media sharing, and 1 Move video for Facebook and Instagram. So it was the most anyone had ever paid me for a partnership at the time, but I don't I don't do anything near this much now, because I'm not sure I can get 3 blog posts or 2 whole videos out of a partnership. This ended up being a smashing success for me. The video went viral on Facebook. It got over 1 million views, so that was awesome. Kyrgyzstan, like Manitoba, has local people who are just very proud of it, and so that really helped with my reach. And this ended up being a super successful campaign that I also made a case study out of. So now my prices are much higher than anything you've seen, because I just don't want to be like running myself ragged like I did in 2019. I think I did a dozen tourism board and brand partnerships in 2019. So now I am just like, okay, I want to do fewer of them, but I want them to really be amazing when I do. So yeah, I think only you can know what is going to feel good to you to charge and deliver. But when it comes down to it, over deliver anytime you can. So that brings me to while you're on the job. You want to be so awesome to work with that they just think of you every time they have that extra cash to work with an influencer. I have this image here of Tübingen. I've worked with the Baden-Württemberg Tourism Board in southern Germany 3 times, and it's because they just keep coming back to me. I think we probably already would have worked together again if not for COVID, because just every time I work with them, I make sure that I knock it out of the park and that I'm just really nice for them to work with. And for them, it's easy because they know that they're going to get the results every time we work together. So do be as easygoing as you can. Make their job easier by doing some research too and coming to them with ideas. So I will often do this because there's someone at that tourism board who's planning out your itinerary, and it's really a lot of work. So if you can come to them with ideas, they do love that. This may be really obvious. This may sound obvious, but you would be shocked at how people sometimes behave on these projects, but you do not want to be a diva. Be kind and courteous to absolutely everyone you interact with. And I really mean everyone. It will get back to them if you're difficult. And so you just want to be as like pleasant as possible. And I know this seems really obvious, but for a lot of people, they really, really like act like a diva on these trips. And that's just the surest way that I can think of to build a bad reputation. And these guys talk to each other as well. So you want them to be saying good things about you. I would also go easy on the alcohol or just not drink at all on the trip, because you don't want to be like a total lush. Start delivering while you're there. So definitely be showing them the things that you're creating. I have a policy where I don't post when I'm in a place, just for my own safety. And I'm always very upfront with that. No one's ever had a problem with it, but they might have a problem with it if I wasn't upfront about it and explained everything. And I will show them photos that I've been taking and things that have been happening so that they know. I think you can kind of tell, like feel it out. If you have a good working relationship with them and you know that they want to be seeing things from you, go ahead and like send it to them. If they seem really busy and you think you would just overwhelm them by sending things to them, then don't do it. But, you know, I think it's good to start delivering while you're there in a way. Do be honest if things come up or need changing. I've had that happen before where it just, like, for example, I was working with Visit Montana, and a lot of the activities that they planned for me were in the middle of the day, but the lighting is really harsh in the middle of the day. And I was like, guys, I need to actually cancel the last group hike that you planned for me so that I can be totally independent. And I'm just going to create better content for you that way. And they were totally happy to do that. And I'm glad that I, came to them with that problem so that we could fix it before the trip was up and I didn't have the content to deliver on. So building on that be a joy to work with, you really want to be a good guest as well on any booked experiences or hotels. I tip really nicely. I know some people don't feel that they should have to tip if it's a sponsored trip, like they shouldn't have to come out of their own pocket for it, but I don't feel that way at all. Like I want everyone who I come into contact with to be like, wow, she was so nice to work with. I just think this is so important. And remember, like all these people talk. Some of them are friends and you don't know that until after the fact. So just always be kind and courteous, be engaged and interested, ask questions, don't scroll on your phone. Back when I did do group trips, I was in Italy this one time and we were getting a tour of like a balsamic factory or something like that. And this guy was talking to us about how he made the balsamic, and one of the other influencers on the trip with me was just scrolling on Instagram during this whole thing, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so rude. And I don't know, that's just such a bad look, so don't do that. Don't complain either. Do your best to bring issues up in a diplomatic way. So even if everything's kind of going wrong, remember that you are going to be judged on how you handle it. So here's how to work smarter, not harder. I start writing about my experiences whenever I have downtime. So if I'm in transit on a bus or a train, I take out my phone and I jot down notes or write the full blog post as I'm going. You guys know that this is already how I do things, but I especially do it on these trips so that I can basically turn around and give them the finished product as soon as possible. Have 6-second reels in mind. It's a really nice way to give additional content over what you agreed upon. And it can be really great for you too. Reels are a great way to grow on Instagram right now. I would avoid the midday hours if you can for any projects that you're working on. So you can see the image here. I took that at golden hour. And that was from me talking to the local operator and asking him when he thought the best time was for us to do the activity. So I don't think we were necessarily scheduled for the golden hour sunset time, but I called him and I was like, hey, I really want to make this look as amazing as possible. When do you think we should do it? And then he and I decided together that we should do it at golden hour and sunset. So that's also a really good idea, is to reach out directly to the people who you're scheduled to have an activity with and see what they think, because they also want you to get the best possible content. And I've had people say in the past, like, oh, we would have woken up at sunrise to do this with you. And I was like, oh, okay. I wish I'd thought of reaching out to you and scheduling it that way. So, go out of your way to just make the project great. And side note, by the way, if I'm in a place like the example I'm thinking of is Aruba, the second time I worked with them, I would get out there for sunrise in the morning. I would be out every day at sunset, but during the midday hours when the sun was super harsh, that's when I was inside editing, writing, and getting everything ready. So I was pretty much finished with the project before I even left Aruba. So I don't want to sugarcoat it. These projects are a lot of work if you're really going to do a good job on it. And going the extra mile really might mean a lot less sleep for you. So this is an example where I was kind of running out of time in Montana. And like I told you, I had a daytime hike planned in Glacier National Park. And I just told the tourism board girls, hey, I need to cancel it so that I can have total freedom when I'm in Glacier. And they agreed. So this photo on the left is of me at a lake that I took at sunset. And I drove up to the trailhead for this lake in the middle that you see here. I hiked 4 miles in by myself in the dark. I sat there for 2 hours to shoot this time lapse. I hiked back out. I snuck into my truck and slept there for a couple of hours. And then I went on this sunrise hike that you see on the far right here. So I basically got all the content that I needed for that trip within like a 12-hour period. And that's because I was really down to the wire and hadn't gotten enough photos at the right time of day yet. But that's probably the most extreme example I have of going the extra mile. Like literally, it was all hiking. I love a good pun. So what I'm really trying to say here is do amazing, amazing work. Knock it out of the park, if I may use a baseball analogy. Wake up for the sunrise, stay out for the sunset, learn how to shoot the stars, and find unique things to share. Don't just do the same thing that every influencer is doing because they've seen it before. Over deliver, over deliver, over deliver, unless it's impossible due to weather issues or trip interruptions, which can happen. I had a trip out to Florida once where it was like a crazy storm for 3 out of the 4 days that I was there. Miraculously, I still pulled it off and got pretty much all the content I needed on the last day. But the tourism board people were understanding. They know that I can't control the weather. So just do everything you can. Also, one thing I love to do is I will look before I go if there are any locals in the area that I'm going to who have cool Instagram handles. Maybe they'd be down to meet up and actually work on things together with you. So obviously this would have been a really difficult picture for me to take of myself. And what I did before I went to Aruba this last time, because I've worked with them 3 times now, and it's a really small island, and I wanted to get different perspectives of it. I wanted to really do something different this time. And so I knew that I wanted to do freediving stuff. I knew I wanted to do underwater stuff. So I reached out to a guy who's based there and I said, hey, do you want to collaborate? I did pay him for this. I got paid to do it. And so I thought it was fair to pay him too. So offer them money. That you're much more likely to get a yes if you do. And I think if you're getting paid to do it, it's the right thing to do anyway. So your content, things to keep in mind. How to deliver great stuff without going absolutely crazy. Well, clients love to see work finished close to when they hire you. I've seen clients kind of get disappointed with other influencers when they had to wait like a whole month to get the content. So here's an example of the project I did in the winter with Manitoba, the second time I worked with them. It's much better for me to share this content pretty much right away, because if we wait a month or two, it's not Northern Lights season anymore. So there is something to be said about sharing things as soon as when they happen as you can. I also think that our followers like it a lot more when things feel current and they're on the journey with us. I would have a plan ahead of time on what you need to get. So have things in mind that you want to do before you get there so that you're not scrambling and figuring it all out when you're on the ground. Know when to be out taking photos and when to be inside working. For me, that usually means being inside during the hours when the light is just not good. And don't schedule any other deadlines during your campaign. These things are full on, and it's usually like 4 or 5 days. So just don't have any other deadlines during that 4 or 5 day period. So on your blog, maybe you've agreed to do 1 blog post with this client, but obviously it's much better for me if I have more content on Manitoba and I build that content umbrella like we talked about in the SEO module. So do your SEO research before you go to see how much content you could write about the destination. It really benefits both of you to have more content on the topic, and it just delights the client when you give them more. If you didn't get Insta-worthy photos, like if you could really only get the 4 that you agreed upon, that's okay. Just over deliver in other areas. And if you're willing to shoot an entire video, even if they don't pay for it, it will help with your SEO. It helps you build data and it shows them what you can do. So remember, for Manitoba, they did not pay me for video the first time, but they did the second time. And I made videos both times. Okay. If you're simultaneously partnering with a brand, so let's say that Arizona had hired me to come to Havasupai. The shoes that I'm wearing here are from a partnership with DSW. So I love to do the 2-for-1. Like I will bring whatever the product is with me on the campaign, and I will shoot extra content for that brand. Let brands know what your upcoming projects are so that they can picture their brand being featured in that destination. A couple really important things though, do make sure that you complete the DMO requirements before posting on behalf of the brand. And you'd be shocked because people do this. And I've heard directly from the DMOs how disappointed they were about it. Don't make the brand ad one of your DMO deliverables. These are two separate things. So it's okay to go get extra photos for the brand while you're in the destination. But if you agreed on 4 Instagram photos for the DMO, do those 4, maybe even do more than those 4 before you post on behalf of the brand. After it's finished, there's still more to do. We want to make their job ridiculously easy. So deliver and post the content close to the partnership date. Clients really love this. If they want to see edits, be open and willing to hearing them out and implementing them though. Make sure that that's included in the contract. I've definitely had a client very recently really abuse that right. And I really regretted working with them. They put in the contract that they got 2 rounds of edits, but they wanted one of those rounds of edits on December 24th. And then the second round, they asked for extra edits that they could have definitely asked for in the first round, because those were all changes that I could have made the first time. So I really felt like they just overused that. And I really wish that I had read the contract a bit more thoroughly and been like, actually 1 round of edits is going to be the max I'll do, because I just don't feel like I got paid enough based on all of the extra work I had to do. So you're going to make mistakes like that sometimes and you'll learn from them, but I'm not going to work with that PR firm again or that brand again, for sure. But anyway, we're talking about what you can do. So do follow up with metrics, or even better, a case study showing that you were successful. So give it about a month or so to build up that data. Certainly, even after a year, if you have people reaching out to you saying that they followed your advice, screenshot that and send it to the client. They love seeing it, and they might really think of you next time that you work together, or next time they want to work with an influencer. So don't be afraid to keep following up with them and showing them the social proof of your partnership being a success. And I do regularly follow back up to write posts for their website as well, because it does help with my SEO. So I just wrote one for Visit Idaho. I've written one for Visit California as well. They didn't pay me for that, but I offered it for free because it helps me. So some really important things to remember is that these guys talk to each other. They may very well know each other. They probably meet at conferences. If you're working with a PR firm, which I would say more than half of my opportunities these days do come from PR firms, remember that they've got other clients, so they might come to you for them too. And they also can move on to other PR firms or move up and change jobs, and they're going to remember that you were good to work with. So you'll get more opportunities in the future if you are a joy to work with. So be so good that they recommend you to each other as well. How to turn it into multiple projects. Basically, do everything we've already talked about. But if you over deliver and are a joy to work with, if you can prove that they made their money back off of comments from readers, proof of link clicks and bookings, if you can manage to rank on the front page of Google and you have awesome views on your videos, and if you follow up with these metrics and check in with them when you're at conferences and online, it's just easier for them to say yes again. So these are clients I've worked with more than once. I've worked with both Alamo and Aruba 3 times, Faalche, Ireland 3 times, Baden-Württemberg 3 times, Manitoba twice. I could actually add Airbnb because I've worked with them twice as well. And you better believe that I am going to use all of the social proof from the content that I worked on with Airbnb to come back to them in the future and say, hey, do you want to work together again? Okay. Bring me your questions.
I have a question about Airbnb.
Sure.
So I've had really good success with them with St. John content, and I know that their affiliate program is ending, but is there any way, do you think that I could by chance pivot any of my St. John success into any kind of contract with Airbnb?
I mean, I would definitely document it and, maybe try reaching out to them. I've completely been working with a PR firm as it relates to Airbnb, so I would be happy to facilitate an intro if you want. I know a lot of people are like angry and going to pivot to VRBO, so you could definitely change it over to VRBO if you want. But at the end of the day, no affiliate program is ironclad. They obviously had a supply and demand problem. So now they are trying to encourage more hosts to come onto their platform. So I think their affiliate program was so successful that they have not enough inventory. So I think it's a mistake to get angry at them because they're business, but a lot of people did. And I don't know, makes me laugh a little bit.
I'm just here to take what I can get.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is. Don't ever be so married to one income stream that you don't have a plan.
Sorry, my internet's really bad, so let me know if I'm cutting out. But for charging these brands, do you just charge them on like PayPal, or how do you do payment?
Each brand is different. Usually there could be a 30 to 60 day window, by the way, between when you finish and when you get paid. So be prepared for that. I have to follow up with clients half the time to be like, hey, so we haven't been paid yet. It's been a month. So do know that you may have to do that. But what I always do is write out an invoice as soon as I finish the deliverables, which usually for me is like a week or two after I complete the project, send it over to them so we can get the ball rolling. And then they usually let me know how they want to handle it. But typically it's like a bank transfer into my business bank account. So I would recommend when you have your LLC setting up a business bank account so that your business finances are separate from your personal finances. Especially if you're taking on any liability like tourism.
So I was wondering, how much time do you give them to pay you? So what do you put in the invoice?
I know some people put like a deadline in the invoice. I never really have. They usually have their own policies. So I think the longest that I've waited was 2 months, and that was just company policy. So
it depends on the company that you're working with.
Usually it's kind of it's really up to them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to get paid like right away, but it's especially when it's a PR firm, it can sometimes be just a huge company and then you've got all this bureaucracy to go through. So
yeah,
I feel free to follow up if it's already been a month, just to like put it at the top of their inbox and be like, hey, I'm still here. So hopefully by then they'll kind of give you an idea. But I know some people say you need to pay me by this date or the fee increases or something like that. I've just personally never done that. I guess that goes against my value of being a joy to work with.
Yeah, I get it.
Thanks, Kristen. That was really helpful. I just had a question about like, I feel like I'm really struggling with like, I've done a lot of projects that are just kind of in exchange, and I've done like one big project that was paid, but I feel like I'm having a lot of trouble like getting in the mindset of asking to be paid. I feel this like weird sense of guilt almost of doing it. I think because I think it's like already so amazing that people are willing to give me these like amazing experiences for free. And I'm just wondering if that's like something you dealt with in the past and how you kind of overcame that.
Well, I think looking at the things we talked about a little bit earlier, like if you know they're making their money back because people have mentioned to you that they took the trip based on your advice, or you can see from your booking.com or however you're tracking like the hotel affiliates or tour affiliates, it's kind of like they should be paying you in that case. And I mean, just to put it into perspective, I don't remember anymore what I learned it costs to be in like a typical magazine ad, but it's astronomical compared to what we charge. Like bloggers are actually a really, really good deal for them. So just keep in mind that you're charging so much less than traditional media because your overhead is less. And so you're offering them an amazing value. I think it's something like, I really think it was something like 75 grand to be in a magazine that has a smaller circulation than mine. And you're guaranteeing them what, a page flip for the month that that magazine gets sent out to people. So I think an evergreen blog post is a lot more valuable. So I think just know your value. There's no reason to feel guilty unless you really don't feel like you're delivering the value to them. But if you can make these case studies and show that you do, then there's no reason why you shouldn't get paid.
I'm curious about your balance between like not posting a photo while you're specifically doing whatever activity, and then but how close you want to post something while you're still there. I always kind of feel strange about posting something exactly when I'm doing it for exactly the reason you said.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really racking my brain here. I don't think, wow, I think it's always been a woman every single time I've worked with a PR firm or a destination. I think it's always been a woman who I was working with. Like, I cannot think of a time that it was male. And they've always been understanding that I don't want to post in real time for my own safety. So if you establish that ahead of time, or like on day one, you're just like, hey, as soon as I leave this spot, I'll post about it. So for example, if it's a road trip where there's multiple stops, I'm fine with posting about X destination if I'm already in Y destination. If it's just one spot the whole time and I'm in like the same hotel the whole time, then they usually are totally understanding that I'm not going to post until like the last day when I'm leaving.
Cool.
Do you wait on stories too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've had some really uncomfortable situations, so it's just a hard rule for me, but no one's ever been like, no, you have to post right now. Like if you're posting 4 days later, it's just not that big of a deal, unless it's like a specific festival or something like that where you really have to be posting in real time, but it's just not really been an issue for me.
If I'm returning to a place that I've had a lot of success with writing about in the past, like, should I reach out to the tourism board in advance to like let them know I'm going to be there and see if, like, I don't know, if they can facilitate anything?
Yeah, I would pitch them. I would be like, this is all, I would make a case study and I'd be like, look at all the things that I've already done for this tourism board. And I would pitch them before I make any plans or purchases and just say, these are my ideas. This is what more I think I can do for you. Look at all that I've already done and like, let's work together. They may not have a budget right now, but it's great to just get on their radar.
Yeah.
I think I've worn this sweatshirt for every single call we've had.
I had a question about, actually, I have two questions for you. One, I saw on your Instagram recently that you are maybe doing tours to Antarctica soon. And I saw that you said that you were going to get those for under $4,000. Did I understand that?
I am
Okay.
trying to get it around that price point, maybe like between 4,000 and 5,000, but I can do Greenland for 4. So I was just curious if people were interested in that, but it seems like people are the most interested in Antarctica.
Yeah, no, that's amazing because I've always wanted to go to Antarctica and I've never seen like a price that low before. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. But also related to that, I had this company reach out to me that is an Antarctica like cruise expedition, and they're like the small ships and they're super environmental friendly, and it does seem like a great fit. But basically what they were offering was that if I got 15 people to sign up for a tour with me, then I could go on the tour for free. And their tours are way more expensive. I think they're like $8,000 to $10,000. So I really
What's
like
this?
don't know how I feel about this. What's the company? Sorry, I have like really bad memory problems lately. I need to actually look it up. But I just don't really know how I feel about it. Like, A, I have never tried to sell tours before, so I don't even know if that's something I can do. And B, I'm like, is that a good deal? Like, I don't know. That seems like a lot of people.
I mean, I've had so many companies reach out to me and offer me the same thing, and I always say no because I want to get paid. But basically, what this company has offered me, and that's why I'm asking, I'm worried it's the same, they're not doing $8,000 trips, is that I get a percentage of every person who comes. So I come for free, but everyone else who signs up in addition, I get a percentage of that. And I would normally say no to that kind of thing, but since it is Antarctica, I kind of am like, okay, that's probably a good deal. I did initially say no to them because I've just noticed that they've partnered with a lot of people lately. Like they partnered with Alyssa and with Liz from Young Adventurous. And so I was just really honest with the guy. And I was like, look, I don't really want to like offer the same exact thing that these two women who are essentially like in the same industry, like the same niche even as me, are offering. But then, yeah, when I asked my audience a couple days ago, most people still seemed interested. So maybe we have more different audiences than I thought.
Yeah. This one is Shamu Adventures, by the way.
Oh, it is the same. 8,000.
The same.
Yeah, so I honestly might not work with them if they're just reaching out to everybody and saying like, let's do this. I don't blame them for
Yeah.
trying, but you're going to have everyone marketing the same exact trip then, and it's going to get really old.
Yeah, that's a good point too, actually.
But yeah, they didn't give me that offer. They actually offered to give me like a cut. So just FYI.
Well, yeah, but you would just get like a cut. No, but that's a better offer because you would go and then get a cut of each sale.
They gave me a better offer than they gave you. I mean, please don't tell them like, well, Kristen said this, but.
Well, obviously you also have like a much larger audience than me too, so.
But why does that matter if you're able to sell those spots, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it either, but that's why I was just kind of asking my audience, like, would you even be interested in this? Like, is it even worth me trying? Because I guess it's not that much work for me to just be like, here's a trip I'm going on. Do you want to come too? And I wouldn't do that for most trips, but for me to organize my own complete Antarctica trip is going to be really difficult and really expensive. It's much different than me organizing my own trip pretty much anywhere else. So that's why I've been considering it. Plus, I mean, after crunching the numbers, I think Alyssa sold like 80 spots on one of those ships. And if they're giving her a percentage of every sale, then that actually adds up and it's pretty good payout. But then I was like, would I really want to be responsible for 80 people? It's a lot.
Yeah, that does seem like a lot of responsibility. But like, do you have a lot of experience in like actually running tours? And I just feel like I don't even like that's just like really overwhelming to me diving into like that world.
It's a little overwhelming to me too to have that many people, because
Sorry, my
even though
internet's
I'm
cutting
not
out.
the one running the tour, I know those 85 people are still going to be like, Alyssa. So it might be too much for me to enjoy it. Like maybe I just want to pay and go on an Antarctica trip.
Sorry, my internet connection is really unstable, so I did not hear what you said.
Oh, I'm just agreeing that it can be really overwhelming to have that many people that kind of expect something from you, even if you're not like truly the guide, they're still gonna like want to interact with you and kind of, I don't know, I think it could be really overwhelming.
I have a question. You had mentioned in a previous call about, I think it was called Hotjar. It's something, I think it was a plugin that tracks outbound link clicks or where people are clicking on your pages.
That's just Google Analytics.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's under events and then outbound clicks. So I did record that somewhere. I think it might have been either the affiliates or the analytics tutorial in Teachable. Hotjar is heat mapping, which is also really interesting and very useful. Was certainly eye-opening for me when I ran it. It will really slow your site down. So just, you know, use it to get the information of how you might want to restructure your pages, but then turn it off and move on. But it is kind of interesting to see how people interact with your website. So that's something that I would do, you know, when you're a little bit farther along and have a big enough audience that that data is going to be really valuable to you. I don't think it's free.
okay. Thank you.
I'm going to see if I can find it real quick in analytics so that I can show you, but feel free to ask more questions while I'm looking at this.
Are you still considering the Greenland trip?
I mean, I could potentially consider any of them, but I am a little bit bothered that like they don't seem to have any like interest in loyalty to anyone in particular. They're just reaching out to like anyone and everyone. So I don't love that.
For Greenland as well?
It's the same company for Greenland, Svalbard, and Antarctica, but
Oh.
I basically said no to him for Antarctica. And then he was like, well, what about Svalbard or Greenland? And I was like, ooh, I've definitely been wanting to go to Svalbard. And that's not the same thing that everyone is marketing. So maybe that would be a good one. But then when I asked people, like, what would you be the most interested in? Antarctica was kind of the winner.
Maybe you could put together your own Greenland trip.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, when my friend Matt, who I run the whale trip with, saw that, he was like, yeah, we could do a Greenland, we could do Svalbard. So yeah, maybe I can just avoid Shimu Adventures and do my own thing.
Kristen, I'm curious if you've been seeing jobs and things starting to pick up now, or if that's not quite happening yet.
What I've definitely seen is I mean, my traffic now is, I just compared it yesterday to the exact same no. I compared my traffic yesterday to a month prior in 2020. So like from end of January to early February before things got bad with the pandemic. And it's at the same level at this point. So traffic is definitely at pre-pandemic levels again, which is really encouraging. So I think we are going to see a lot of these companies getting a lot more revenue coming in, but for most of them, they're getting their money from like hotel room taxes. And until hotels are able to operate at full capacity, and until we're basically like paying back what they didn't get for 2020, I don't know how many like opportunities there are going to be. So I haven't seen a big uptick in DMO opportunities, but there's plenty of brands that continued to do well through the downturn and that will continue to do well. So I would just remain open and engaged and like doing all you can. I'm kind of surprised that Aruba was like wanting to work again in November, but you never know. I mean, I would just keep working hard on the destinations that you do well with, because there could be opportunities coming up sooner. But I'm not probably going to reach out to Reno Tahoe again until I know that they're getting those hotel room taxes, and we're probably not looking at that until hotels can open up at full capacity. I am looking and looking for that place where I look at where people are clicking those outbound links. Be under events. Aha, okay, let me share screen. Okay, so here I'm under behavior, and then I'm under events, and here I can see outbound link. So behavior, events, I clicked overview here, and then I have outbound link. And it should show me like specific outbound links people are clicking under event action. So this is a good one. Under the Wild Dolphin Adventure and Reef Snorkel Cruise with Get Your Guide, I had over 1,100 hits over the past 28 days. And then here I have the Renaissance Aruba. So that's definitely something I could come back to Aruba with and be like, hey, look at how many people are clicking on this particular link. So I know that that's coming from my things to do in Aruba and my Flamingo Island posts. Here we also have them actually booking the Renaissance Hotel. So these are actually, I probably will reach back out to Aruba and be like, hey, just so you know, like we're getting over 1,000 hits per month going back to this hotel that I didn't even work with, but I did use it to go see the flamingos. Let's see what else here. This is interesting. So I didn't even notice until I looked at it, but I have 2 Reno Tahoe links that people are clicking with some regularity here. So I could definitely go to Reno Tahoe and be like, hey, look, you should work with me because I'm already sending all of this traffic. So we can't really know from this how many people are taking actions or bookings, but it's one of the best metrics that I have at my disposal to prove that I'm worth working with. So it can just be as simple as, hey, I have a reason now to touch base with you. Check this out.
For whatever reason, nothing shows up for me under events. Is that something that Andrew could help with? Because I just have never had anything pop up under there.
But your Google Analytics is installed fine?
I mean, it picks up all my traffic just fine, but for some reason under events, there's just nothing.
Nothing at all under overview?
No, nothing.
I mean, feel free to ask him.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Yeah. It's beyond my abilities.
Mine too.
I'm glad you showed me your analytics there. I'm actually in the process of booking a trip to the Big Island, and I was looking at those tours.
Oh yeah, I mean, I I I really enjoyed them. I was kind of like, are we just bothering these poor dolphins? Maybe, but I've heard really good things about the manta experience as well, especially if you've never swam with them. They're so cool.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm doing a free diving course in somewhere out there.
Nice. Probably Kona.
Yeah, Kona.
Sweet.
I have a question about the content you write for these brands or tourism boards. Do you you know, talk with them beforehand about the kind of blog post you're going to write? So which topics or which keywords, or do you just decide for yourself?
Usually what I'll do is do the keyword research first, and then I will, kind of give them this idea, but often they actually have something in mind that they want coverage for. So it's kind of a mix, honestly. Like some of them are just very laissez-faire, like you do whatever, we trust you, and I love that. But some of them really have a plan, and they give me a very planned out itinerary. And I also think it's just your personality. Like, do you want them to plan it out for you? Because some people, I've heard some influencers will like, this is such a bad idea, try to charge if they have to plan their own itinerary. This goes in like the don't act like a diva box, but like you'd be so shocked how awful people are.
Okay.
If you're just nice, you're going to be so far ahead of everyone else. But sorry, I digress. So personally, I prefer to come to them with the ideas because I know what's going to work with my audience. I know what's going to perform the best. And usually they're very receptive to that. But if you don't want to do that and you'd prefer that they sort of come to you with the theme or the topic, that's okay too. They're very used to doing that. And maybe they already have something in mind.
Okay. And if they have
Especially if it's a
something-
fam trip, like if it's a group trip and there's multiple people on it, they've already planned it out. They already have like that topic in mind, and you're going to be going on that fam trip.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And if they have something in mind and you feel like you have a better idea, would you tell them that or see if there's a possibility to change it a little?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it's a group trip, it's going to be really hard for there to be any wiggle room. But
Yeah.
if it is an individual trip, then I definitely come to them with ideas, and I definitely show them that I've done my research and let them know exactly what I plan on doing. And I find that they really like that most of the time. And if there's something that I wish was in the itinerary that isn't, I will ask for that too. So I just definitely give them as much feedback as I can because I want it to be the best possible trip and content it can be. And I really don't want anyone to be disappointed, especially them at the end of it, if I didn't do exactly what they had in mind. So I think it's just really good to be very communicative about everything before it's too late.
Yeah, okay.
I had a question. It's not related to working with brands, but I just wanted to get your opinion. So lately I've been getting like a lot of freelance writing work, which is nice because it's money. And to be honest, like the bulk of my income right now is writing for other people, but I'm feeling like it's pretty much consuming my life, like combined with travel. Like I just really haven't had the time to work on my blog that I want. And I do have savings. So like I could, if I stopped doing like all this freelance work, I could live, but I would definitely then be eating into my savings. And I'm just kind of like not sure what to do. Like, should I, like, what is the best course of action going forward?
Yeah, I've definitely been there. Probably right around the same stage of my blogging career that you're in, where it was the same situation. All I can say is that I've often taken those little leaps before I felt completely ready. And it tends to work out because you're like, okay, now I need to make the money from my blog and like my projects, like pressure's on. So I don't think it's such a bad thing. And I mean, I think those opportunities are going to continue to be there for you. You could also just taper off, like don't quit all of them, but just quit the ones that like are the least enjoyable for you or give you the least. And but yeah, I think you can really only go all in on your blog when you go all in on your blog. Well, we've got a couple minutes left. Any last burning questions? Okay, well, I've really enjoyed doing this with you guys. I am honored that you decided to like put your time and resources into this, and just really appreciate that you participated, and it's been so much fun and I've learned a lot and like really had a good time. So thank you so much for being a part of this. You will still have access to Slack, so continue to meet on there, continue to discuss. If you do decide at some point down the line that you want to work with me one-on-one, reach out to me. I'm totally open to doing that kind of thing. And this will remain an evergreen course that you have access to, so don't worry about that. And you're all, I think, affiliates as well, unless I had to go in and manually make you guys affiliates. So if you haven't asked me, feel free to ask me and I'll make you an affiliate of this course. I'm going to turn it into an evergreen course. Right now, no one can sign up because I'm not like ready, but I'll probably do it at some point over the summer or in the fall. So thank you so much for being here. And yeah, hope you have an awesome day. Teresa, best of luck. And I mean, best of luck to everyone, but I know that this is a big day for you. So congrats to all of you for making this investment in your career. And I'm so proud of you.
Thanks so
Take
much.
care
Kristen.
and keep in touch.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Kristen. Bye.
Bye, guys.